Morning, everybody. Thank you. First up, always the pressure. My name's Sarah. I'm an OT who works at Statewide Progressive Neurological Diseases Service in Melbourne. Many of my team here, you'll hear a few more of us today. So I'm not... Okay. Yay. We all know this. This is not something we know. I think the main thing that I want to talk about is that as OTs, as we've heard, we're about hoping living life is good. The reason I started doing this talk is because lots of people would ring our clinic and ask for advice about things, and the thing that I would always say is it is challenging, it is demanding, and it's really important just to know about what MND is, because it's not like any other disease that we would ever work with. So it's really important to understand it before we work on what we're going to do. I don't know how it's not... Oh. So just a little side note is that I stand up here before you as an OT who's worked with people with MND for nearly 13 years now. And in a weird twist of events, my mum was diagnosed with MND here in Perth, actually, because I'm from the bush, down south. Yep. And so I cared for her as well and went along this journey with her. So I'm a daughter of a person who had MND, and I'm an OT who's worked with people with MND. So I think the reason I'm telling you this is because my experience is from both sides. I've had the daughter side and the carer side, and I've had the therapist side. And I think it's really framed the way I kind of live my life and give my treatment now. So anyway. So the thing about OTs, and it can be broadened out to other disciplines, is that sound understanding of the phenotypes is basically the thing that underpins what we would like to help our people with. Everyone has got different journeys, everyone's got different goals, different lives, but understanding where it's hitting them first and then what that might look like in their progression just helps us to guide them. It's not up to us to decide what's important, but it's about guiding them in the right direction. So understanding those phenotypes, and the thing I say to people who ring us up is, so where has it started? The thing, there's no recipe, there's no clinical guidelines. You know, someone has a hip replacement, as an OT, the surgeon gives the guidelines. There's no guidelines here. And it's really about tips for practice. Understand with your person, your individual, where it started, maybe what it's looking like, and maybe what the likely progression is. The number of times I say to people, look, you know, we don't know what's going to happen, but I just want you to have information that is going to be helpful for you. Your journey, your life, I want to give you information to make good decisions that will help you going to do the things you want to do. Yeah, I wrote this slide sort of pre-NDIS full rollout, so that smart and strategic use of funding was maybe slightly more pertinent at that point. And be creative and not prescriptive. Put things in writing. You know, the thing is, when Mum was diagnosed, I'd known for about 6 months beforehand, because I had the old foot drop, blah-de-blah, and because she lived in Manjimup, very long diagnostic period. And we had beautiful diagnosis, beautiful doctor diagnosed everything. Nothing was put in writing, which was fine. But my very intelligent father, when we get home, he says, so when's she going to get better? Oh, you see, people don't hear all the time what you're telling them. You're talking a language that is new and unfamiliar. So we always at our clinic will try and put things in writing, give them to something to take away with, to look at later. Because literally, I know from experience that people don't hear everything you're saying. There is so much information being told to them and so many decisions needing to be made and so many people coming in and out that they don't understand, or they do understand but they don't remember. And that people require regular, long-term, consistent input. Can't go in, leave. Don't do that. We will say in our clinic, just going to let you know that we're just here. We're here for as long as you need us. You can ring us every week. You can ring us every 3 months. Here's our email. Ring the nurse, ring an OT, ring a physio, doesn't matter. You can just ring us because Google can be dangerous. We would rather you ring us and say, I've got this happening, what can we do? And it might not be me, it might be needing to be, something that the physios look at or the dietitians look at. But at least they're getting the information that is right for them and they're not just madly Googling, because Google is dangerous, as we know. So challenges for OTs, and obviously this is for, all of us, that they require flexible, responsive and ongoing treatment. Now the NDIS has created a bit of a mess of that in Australia, but we're making it work as best we can. And sometimes there's really limited time to adjust to change. And a huge amount of deficits, huge amount of different presentations. So for OTs and therapists and to understand where the important things are. And the individual reactions may really differ. I talk a lot about dancing the dance with our patients. Sometimes people come in and they want to know everything. They want to know, give me all the information. I want to know exactly what's going to happen to me. I'm going to know all the equipment I need. I want to know, I want to bank my voice. I want to do everything. And then other people will just go, oh no, I just need to know this. And then I need to know this. And you know what? That's okay. That's totally fine. And we will just go along the journey with them, however they're dealing with it. Because it is a huge psychological adjustment. And every time we introduce a bit of equipment or suggest something, that's like another affirmation of what's happening. So it's about being really sensitive with that. We talk a lot at the clinic about giving people options. There's this and there's this. And the reason why this is good is for this. And the reason why this is good is for this. And we will work out with them what is the best option. Yeah, so the psychological adjustment, I think, as all of us know, can really sort of change the way we deal with things, and just being really cognizant of that with people and not just to go in like a bulldozer, although some people want a bulldozer and that's okay as well. I'm just going to go through a few things, sort of a few creative things that we've done over the time. So you can see some funny splints that I've made in the past. Not everyone needs a splint, but if they do need a splint, look at why they need it. What do we want to do with it? I always say, what does someone want to do? What do they want to do? Then work it out. Upper limb management, really important. I think Tim is talking next about neck supports and how we work together. And a lot of this is stuff we do with a multidisciplinary team. This is not just OT, this is OTs and physios together, because that importance of posture and to support respiratory function and secretion. So we're working with the speechies to make sure that someone's secretions are being managed in their wheelchair and in bed. And it's really, really multidisciplinary, everything we do. But it's really, really important to support their arms because sore shoulders are really common and we can, try and avoid that as much as possible. So we do some really creative cushions. At the moment, our favourite cushion is the breastfeeding pillow from IKEA. Because we don't have a sewing machine anymore, so we can't sew the pillows that we used to sew. But how many of those do we sell? The OT's doing bulk trips to IKEA. My husband's like, what are you doing? I'm buying 10 breastfeeding pillows. He's like, do you have something to tell me? No. Electronic assistive technology, we're going to, Maddie, my other colleague's going to talk more about eye gaze. But in general, when someone rings and says, I think my person with MND needs an eye gaze. I'm going, actually an eye gaze is really just the mouse. It's just the mouse. And then the software and the hardware and approach doing electronic assistive technology like you would anything else. What does the person want to do? What do they want to do? Where are they doing it? And then around that, get the right combination of hardware, access, software, and goodness sake, work with your speech pathologists. What do they want to do? What are their goals? Access is the number one thing. I'm a country girl, as you've heard, from Manjimup, down south WA. Grew up in the bush. What do they want to do? How are they going to drive it? Because I learned driving in a paddock, in a car, that started in second gear, probably had no handbrake. And my dad used to sit next to me and it was slow and it was effortful and it was hard and I made mistakes and I crashed into fences. So the access is the driving. Get the access right first. Doesn't matter what they want to do with it. If they can't drive it, they can't do anything. So get the access right. So do they need a head mouse? Do they need a gyroscopic mouse? Do they need an eye gaze? Do they want to do switch scanning? Do they want to start with touch access? Do they want a combination of both? Get the driving right first and the rest will come. Yeah, so what combination of hardware and software with that access method is required? If someone's really, really, really important that they need to be able to turn their TV on and off, then they need some hardware that has the ability to send that signal. So it's about getting the right combination. If AAC is super, super important, then we need to get some software that starts with that. When I first started doing technology with people, there was very little sort of integrated devices. It was all like there was a speech pathology device and then an OT device. Now it's all combined. There you go. There's some of our people. Sarah's working onto the stage. Yes, lots and lots and lots of combinations. Someone in a chair, someone in a bed, different mounting. Perfect. And more. So there is no rules. For the OTs in the world, if you're going to give someone, or the physios, if you're going to give someone a wheelchair, you don't give someone just the same wheelchair that you gave the person before. You work out what they need to do, where they need to go, what do they want to do with it, how they're going to drive it. Same. So yeah, technology or assistive technology is about providing people with options. It's not about the rules. It can be a symbol of loss and a reminder of the progressive nature of their condition, but it can also be really empowering to let people do what they want to do within the changes that are happening. And we use our knowledge of the onset patterns to predict patients' requirements. And I think one of the things with that is that sometimes we introduce things to say, just letting you know this thing exists. You don't need it right now, but it exists. And you're just kind of opening up people's eyes. We talk a lot about, I'll say to people, it doesn't matter what happens here. We don't know, we don't have a crystal ball. But whatever happens, we will be able to help you do the things you want to do. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know what it is. That's okay. But just to let you know that things exist. Because when people come into our clinic, they haven't lived in the disability world. They don't understand disability language. They don't know what's on the market. They don't know where to get stuff. And that's our job to help guide them along that way. And that concept that some equipment is really only useful for a short period of time, and that's okay. It could be that, someone's, sleeping in bed, waiting for their NIV. They're really, really, needing to sleep a little bit upright. We talk about bed wedges so they're not hunching on 27 pillows. And someone else has said to them, you need a hospital bed. And for FYI, we don't say hospital bed in our clinic, electric bed. Because anyway, don't get me started. There we go, we talk about beds. Approach beds with care and sensitivity. Remember, people have partners and life, and they want to have sex, and they want to snuggle, and that's good, but we need to talk about it. And you can't just expect someone to be okay with having their electric bed in the lounge room. So yes, consider that. That's a whole talk of its own. Care alert. This is, electric doorbells with switch adaptation. I reckon it's probably been one of the sort of best mainstream assistive technology things that have ever come out. That concept that someone who's got their NIV on or can't talk or is really anxious can just hit a button and someone will hear them. And also, on the flip side, for the carer or the person living in the house with them, to know that their loved one can contact them if they need it. My mum and dad's house had a long hallway. Mum's bedroom was up the end, big sort of old, country house, living area and down the end. Mum couldn't talk, she had no voice. There was no way that she would have been able to get in touch with us if we were in the kitchen or in the back garden. So this remote call bell that MND WA sent down for Mum was the best. I did learn to hate it after a while. The ding-dong bell in the middle of the night, I'd be like, okay. And I do say to people, you're not allowed to ring it just for, a cup of tea. No, don't do that. Personal alarm options. What do they want to do with it? Who are they going to call? What is their best option? No rules, but think about what they want to do. Oh, now home mods is a whole other talk, but just in the thing I want to talk about is approach home mods with care. Permanent home mods can be really good to let people live at home, do what they want to do. They are really crappy to look at for the next 20 years, FYI. So consider, if appropriate, non-permanent, cheaper and flexible solutions. They can be really confronting. Some people, that's all they know. They know their friend with MS got their bathroom modified, and they come to you with that. Have a look at their bathroom. Maybe suggest that we could do something different, if appropriate, and if that's okay with them. It can be really psychologically difficult having, your bathroom knocked out to look like a wet room and then have to look at it. But they also can make sure that someone can be at home and be cared for. So these are some of the non-permanent modifications that some of our clients have had. Recycled rubber ramps, fabulous. No structural, nothing needed. You can get them funded under low-risk AT in your NDIS budget. Excellent ramps. Modular comes in. This guy, for the shower there, he's got PLS. He decided he never wanted his bathroom modified. He's been using this for about 8 years. Okay? He didn't want his bathroom. He wanted that all be taken away when he's not there anymore. Really, really left of centre options occasionally may need to be used, depending on how things are changing and what the environment looks like. Same with ramps. Wheelchair accessible vehicles, great if you can get it. Again, the choice depends on what sort of wheelchair they've got, who's driving it, where it's being parked, where they want to go, how far they want to go. Same. Some of my people. Energy conservation. I think as OTs, we talk a lot about energy conservation and the impact on function and that concept of pacing, and that even if someone can walk and is walking and they'll say to me, God, yeah, I have a shower and then I need to have a lie down. I was like, well, do you want a chair to sit in? Just even to dry your feet? I'm like, oh, no, I don't need a chair. I can stand up. Yeah, but you sitting on a chair will take 50% less energy than standing up. So you might have more energy to do the fun things instead of using it all up. Just think about it. Avoiding those peaks and troughs. Preserving the energy for the fun stuff. Who wants to use all their energy up having a shower? Things we like. Bidets with foot controls for people with cervical onset or flail limb. Really good. Chest and leg straps. I had a guy who was, completely needing to be in a tilt and space commode. Couldn't move. Used to get really, really anxious on his commode. And eventually, I got a waterproof strap made, put it around his chest, and he said, Sarah, I know I'm not going to fall out. He said, I know I'm not going to fall out, but knowing I've got that strap on kind of is a signal for my carers to just be a little bit careful, and he just felt better. And it made the whole process of showering just a bit easier and a bit pleasurable for him. Phone holders, drink holders, simple things. Pillows with ear cutouts, then we've seen some people with funny sore ears. Satin sheets can just improve that bed mobility. Obviously, if you put a whole satin sheet on, you end up a bit like a turtle, got no purchase anywhere. So just get a bit of satin, and for people with lumbar onset changes, it can just help. The other thing is, I say to people, find that pair of Tweety Bird underpants that you probably bought in 1982 that are silk, satin boxes. Everyone's got a pair in the back of their undie drawer. Also work as well. Cuddle buddy cushions, buttons to be able to call a nurse. This was a guy with a foot. He had a tiny little bit of toe movement. That was the only thing. So he rigged up this button on a mount to the call bell, so he knew he can call the nurses if he needed. He was on NRV 24. Tables, all of the things. And you know what I really like? I love working in the team because all of these solutions are a part of all of the people we work with. And I think, as everyone said, working with people with MND is about the multidisciplinary team. It's about, sometimes the speeches will come and say, I've been talking to someone about technology. They can talk, but they need to use their computer. So let's introduce it now. Introduce that computer access now. But we design it to be able to use for communication later on. Or, like this lady really wanted to use her eye gaze. She couldn't hold her head up, so we worked together. That mod hose mount with the communication board so she could use it with her laser pointer. Our team is, really amazing. We have a great multidisciplinary team, and it doesn't matter who finds the thing first. Because sometimes conversation is really important. It's really important, and the physio could be talking about something and they'll just let us know that they've mentioned this, so maybe talk about that. We kind of sometimes in clinic have these little handovers, and that's good. Work with your team. Be flexible. Know your phenotype. Thank you.